name is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says,
oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous. But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
We were born to
you are listening to the Channelmom Show, where we are celebrating you on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. I am your host, Jenny Dean Schmidt. Thank you so much for being with us today. All the moms out there, and even the dads, if you want to listen to us, we welcome you. Love the against the odds story that our next guest has to share. This mother of 2 has not only created and patented her own unique invention for kids called Bee's Knees, which has gotten the attention of a few Hollywood types. She also pursued her business venture in the midst of learning that her toddler had a major disability. She is Tammany Atkinson, and I cannot wait for you to hear her story. I hope it's an inspiration to you as it has been to me. Welcome, Tammany.
Hi, Jenny. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, we are blessed to have you. Okay, so please tell us about Bee's Knees and how you, as a mom, had the get up and go to create your own invention and then get it on the market.
Oh, okay. Well, when Jackson was crawling, my first son, when he was crawling, I noticed that his knees were always red and bruised from crawling on our hardwood and tile floors. So I realized that, we needed to do something about that. And so at first I thought about knee pads, and then I kind of thought, well, that'd probably irritate him and he'd pull at it. So it had to be there, but that he didn't know it was there, and he was benefiting from the comfort. So that's how the idea for the pant came about.
Uh-huh.
And so we developed a prototype, and I took it to a seamstress and had her make it. And then from there, just went about trying to find manufacturers and the right materials to get it made. And then started out slowly just selling it at local boutiques. And worked at it for, I guess it's been 8 years now, and then just over that time, learned the business and made certain connections and got some press here and there, and we were able to launch it at Babies R Us across Canada this fall.
Oh, congratulations! Love your
Thank you.
And I love your Canadian accent, by the way. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm loving the hard O's or whatever it is. I want to say that Bee's Knees is, I believe, the only product of its kind, and leave it to a mother to come up with that, because we moms know what children need. It's got the neoprene padding and so on, and it's really something that's specifically designed for children so they will not tear it, as you said. You've been able to capitalize on this, and you even sent it to a few people that we would recognize the names of. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, so Courteney Cox's husband was on David Letterman when their daughter was young and crawling, and David Letterman asked how she was, and he said, oh, well, she's great, but she's crawling now, and we have hardwood floors throughout our home, and it's way too hard on her knees, so I have to carry her everywhere, but it's a struggle because she always wants down. And so I sent her some pants, and then I guess it was about 2 weeks later, we received a really nice thank you note from her. And then she was doing a movie in Toronto, and we had some correspondence with her, and we sent her more, and she gave us an endorsement on the pants. She loved them. And then Goldie Hawn, actually, I'm at the cottage right now, and where we are in Canada, they have a cottage up here. So she picked up some for Kate Hudson at a store in the little town that we're at. And then they've been seen on other celebrity babies. Jennifer Garner's daughter had them. Angela Bassett had them for her twins.
Wow, girl, you're out there.
Yeah, so they got around, and it's been great. We've been really lucky.
Well, let me just say that I don't think celebrity babies are any more important than anybody's babies, but I imagine you get a little bit more attention because of that. Yeah. Now, I congratulate you on that. I want every mom out there who has an idea to feel inspired by you and just to go for it, because I think it's really wonderful that as a mom, you were sitting there at home taking care of your children, and yet you pursued this for many, many years, and I know you believe in perseverance, so I applaud you for that.
Yeah, you have to.
Finally, I really do want to get to another story that I want you to be able to share with our audience, because I think that you believe that you might be able to help some parents out there. It's the story of your son, Jackson. Yeah. Your amazing journey as parents who went from having to discover that you had a profoundly deaf child to something later which you saw as miraculous. Please tell us what happened with Jackson.
Well, Jackson was born profoundly deaf, and we didn't know for the first, I guess, 8 months of his life, and then started going through the testing, and initially we were told that he could hear. When we finally got the diagnosis, of course it was devastating and really just felt like a death because it was so final, and it's certainly not what you imagine for your children. So it was very difficult, and we were told that if he was to ever learn to talk, if he was ever to hear, that we needed to consider a cochlear implant. Well, when we were given the diagnosis, I'd never even heard of a cochlear implant. And so it was a really difficult time, and he was implanted at 18 months and heard for the first time in his life at 19 months.
Yeah.
And then he received a second one, so he has bilateral implants when he was 3.5. And so we went through years of speech therapy and anguish and just, wondering if he would ever learn to talk, and, it was so stressful waiting for certain periods of development to happen, and sometimes, I would just go to bed at night with so much stress and worry that I hadn't done enough during the day, and it's really just such an amazing piece of technology because Jackson's 9 now. He speaks perfectly normal, perfectly clear. He speaks French. He plays the piano.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And he's a straight A student, so it's really just, we're so grateful for the technology.
Yeah, and here's what I love, is that you were concerned that he couldn't even hear you as his mommy, as a little baby, say, I love you, and he couldn't hear you sing. And when he woke up in the middle of the night, he was in the dark and also couldn't hear, and you were so concerned about that.
Yeah.
And when he was able to hear for the first time, what did he do? He clung to his mama because that was so new and different and weird. He needed you.
It is. It's amazing, what we take for granted in life. And so with the implant, they implant the device into the skull, actually, and then there's 2 electrode wires that go into the inner ear, and they wrap around the cochlea, and they do the job of the hair cells. And so Jackson didn't have them, or they were damaged. So then he wears an external piece, and it picks up the sound in the environment through a microphone, transmits it through the computer, and then feeds it up a wire and then into the cochlear implant in his head. And those electrical wires stimulate the auditory nerve and send the message instantaneously to the brain, the way to the hair cells. So it's an artificial sense. Yeah. So, it's a big deal for these kids to hear for the first time because suddenly they have this sense that they didn't even know existed.
Right, absolutely. And
so when we found out he was deaf, it was so devastating that, because I used to say to people, he cries so loud at night. And, of course, I sounded like the mother saying that, my child, of course, cries louder than everybody else's child. But they really do, because babies soothe themselves with their cry. And when they're deaf, they can't hear their cry. So when we found out that he was deaf, I thought of all those nights that he was lying in his crib in the dark, and I would try and soothe him, but he never heard me. And he couldn't see anything. So when he first heard, everyone said, oh, what was the first thing you said? Was it I love you? And which seemed so obvious, but it was just to shush him and soothe him, because that was something I was never able to do. And so he was very still and very close to me when he first heard, when they turned the sound on. And they turn it on slowly over time, so it's not such a huge shock. But I'll never forget, he, after, a few moments of just staying really close to me, and it was very emotional, he jumped off my lap, and he started to run down the hall in the hospital, and his surgeon, Dr. Papson, was coming down the hall and he to check on him, and he's like, so, how'd it go? And I said, I'm so shocked at how well he's taken to it and how happy he seems. And he said, of course he is. He said, it's the first time, sorry, I always tear up when I say this, but he said it's the first time he's ever heard the sound of his own footsteps. And it just really is such a miracle. And, you talk about with bee's knees and necessity being the mother of all invention. Well, the cochlear implant was created by Dr. Graham Clark in Australia, and he witnessed his father go deaf and be shut out from the world, and so dedicated his life to creating this miraculous invention.
Yeah, and we have to go because we have another interview, but I just want to say, I love your heart as a mother. You went to bed worrying about him. You were concerned you didn't say the right thing. All you wanted to do was to comfort him because you hadn't been able to let him hear you comfort him before. So I just applaud you, and I want other mothers to get inspiration from you. Very briefly, because we have to go to another interview, just tell moms how they can get a hold of you if they need some help on these things, either bee's knees or advice about cochlear implants.
Absolutely. My website's beeskneesbaby.com.
Okay.
And all my contact information is there. And basically, I just want to tell moms that if they receive a diagnosis like this, that, you know, there's definitely hope, and children that are born deaf lead absolutely normal lives. Okay. And the head office, actually, for Cochlear Americas is headquartered in Denver, Colorado. And so you can learn more about it at cochlearamericas.com.
Beautiful. Well, bless your heart, Tammany. We need to have you back, but thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jenny. I really appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Okay, thank you. You too. Bye.
She's fabulous. Wonderful story. Just loved her. Now, you're going to want to be here for next week's show. We have got a mom turned author who's written a fictional romance and several inspirational books for mothers, and another mom who's got some breakthrough thoughts to share about dieting. She's written a book called Fat is Not a Four-Letter Word, and she's going to help you shift your mindset around food and what it really means to be healthy. Julie Hammerstein, I love that. I think that's going to be really good. Don't you think, Shel? Alrighty, thanks for being with us, and I hope you have a beautiful 4th of July. Just go out and enjoy your family. We'll see you next week on the Channel Mom Show.
Be happy.